Hey, I'm John Quacca. I'm the chief of the Tupelo, Mississippi Police Department, and I want to talk to you today about a problem that is not only here locally in Tupelo, but it is also a problem nationwide, and that is the overdose and deaths we are seeing with the drug called fentanyl. This is a huge problem that should not be occurring at all if people would just take the time to be educated about this matter. Fentanyl we're seeing now is in every drug that everyone is acquiring. It's in meth, it's in Adderall. Any type of drug that you buy on the streets from a drug dealer or from anywhere that's not a pharmacy, you must assume that there's fentanyl in it. We see fentanyl in every type of drug that people are buying off the streets. The only way you should be taking drugs is from a licensed doctor and from a pharmacy. Anything else is going to be very detrimental to you. It does not take much fentanyl at all to create an overdose and cause someone to die. I hope this video you're about to watch is informative and educational and gives you the tools you need to protect yourself and your family members and your friends from this dangerous epidemic we're seeing known as fentanyl.
One of my best friends had a really hard time with it. It's still an addict because it'll always be a part of his life, but a couple years ago he hurt his ankle, and so he took opioids to help with the pain, but then it became an addiction, and so then didn't get them in a legal way, and eventually found out that it was pretty much straight fentanyl that he was taking in pill form. It just got worse and worse, and we saw a lot of changes in who he was, and it was to the point where he was kind of unrecognizable in a way. Like he was there, but he wasn't there, if that makes sense. I think eventually he realized what he thought he was taking wasn't what he was taking, but I think at that point he didn't actually care. And that was a really hard experience because he was, is one of my best friends, and just to know that he'd been going through that and that nobody had told me really hurt. And that I couldn't be there. And so we thought that it was handled and that he knew that he needed to quit and that he was just going to quit and wean off, and that was going to be the end of it. But a few months later, he started again and like didn't tell anybody. And that's when I found out. From finding out the first time, I kind of knew the signs because they were like, how did you not notice this? Or how did you not notice this? And I was like, I didn't know that was something I was supposed to be looking for. But then I knew that that was something I was supposed to be looking for. And so that's how I knew the second time that it had come back. He went to rehab, got cleaned up. It was a long process and a lot of hard work, and it took like the family to rally around him and all of his friends to support him because it wasn't just a him thing. It was all of us. It affected everyone that knew him, that loved him. Absolutely. Obviously, when these people are taking these drugs, they don't want to end up dying over what they're taking. They just want a good time, or they just want to get a better high or get that next high. They never think that they never know when their last one is going to be, because they never know. The scary thing is you never know what's going to be in these pills. Or, you know, people can lace anything nowadays. I mean, even your weed could be laced with something that you don't know what's in it. And then you go from weed to anything else higher, you know, perks, whatever it may be. You could buy a pill press off of Amazon nowadays, I'm pretty sure. And people could be putting God knows what in these pills. And that's the scary. Fentanyl is really scary, but what's even scarier is you might be even taking something worse than fentanyl that people don't even know about yet. My first advice would be to love them and to let you know that their actions that they're doing right now isn't them, but it's their addiction. And to not hold them accountable for what they've done while they're addicted, because that's not who they are on the inside. On the inside, they are the person that you know and love. So let them know that. And you can't force someone to get sober. That's why it came back, because he didn't know really that he needed to get sober the first time. He didn't want it for himself, and they have to want it for themselves. So you have to show them videos like this. You have to show them stuff that's really going to affect them and let them know that there isn't a way forward other than finding sobriety, and they have to find that want inside themselves. As if you wake them up one morning and be like, okay, you're going to rehab, and you force them into rehab. That might work, and it might work for a little while, and rehab is great, but they have to know, okay, I have to go to rehab because I can't do this on my own.
So our primary goal is to detect and interrupt drug trafficking in the North Mississippi area, focusing on trying to track down and prosecute those engaging in the sale and trafficking of illicit substances in the North Mississippi area. So one of our secondary goals is to educate the public on drug use and addiction and some of the dangers that entail. According to the National Association of Drug Court Professionals, approximately 80% of just general violators of crimes, ranging anywhere from violent crimes to petty theft, typically are engaging in abuse of either drugs or alcohol. A couple of challenges we face are just manpower in general. There's only so many of us, and there's a significant amount of drug activity going on in the North Mississippi area. Another challenge would be the amount of time and effort that goes into building a proper case that's going to hold up in court against these individuals that are selling and trafficking drugs. One thing that we could really use is community buy-in. It's for us to most effectively do our jobs. It is extremely beneficial to us whenever the community notifies us of any problem areas or individuals that they know that are engaging in drug activity. We can only be aware of what we know about. So since 2020, we've seen approximately 121% increase in our cocaine cases that we've prosecuted in that time frame. There has been an increase of approximately 153% in our methamphetamine cases. The most troubling figure that we've seen since 2020 has been a 2,200% increase in our fentanyl cases that we've prosecuted since 2020. And that's just the ones that we know about. A lot of times there is a factor of coming in from out of state. We've seen a lot of cases where that shipments have been received from the California and Arizona area. They'll be either being trafficked in by vehicle carrier, or a lot of times it's being actually mailed into the area and then distributed from there. The addict is someone who's wakes up in the morning and their entire goal is to seek out that first fix. They begin to neglect financial and family obligations, creating financial hardship. A lot of individuals ultimately end up homeless or without a means to support their families or their habits. That will typically lead to oftentimes a lot of our petty theft, whether it be shoplifting or just general auto burglary and things of that nature, are usually a means that these addicts and individuals are seeking to fund their habit. Just this weekend, our patrol division was dispatched out to a potential overdose in which they found an individual who was unresponsive. Officers were able to begin rendering aid by providing CPR. Thankfully, one of the officers did have a dose of Narcan in his kit. Was able to administer that Narcan and revive that individual. Once revived, the individual was able to tell the officers that it was off of a single oxycodone pill of suspected fentanyl that caused his overdose. One of the new legislative tools that we have at our disposal was House Bill 607, more commonly known as Parker's Law, that the state legislature has established a law that allows us to pursue prosecution against dealers of fentanyl when the fentanyl that they've sold to someone ultimately results in an overdose and death. Unfortunately, nobody is exempt. We see all walks of life, from the homeless individuals all the way up to more prominent members within the community that suffer from addiction. It doesn't have a particular demographic that is targeted more so than any other. Pretty much everybody who gets a hold of it, once they start it, it's extremely hard for them to get off of it. One of our primary concerns being the youth, typically your high school age children, getting a hold of these pills and not knowing what they have taking them on faith, just on face value. It's a counterfeit pharmaceutical that when you're looking at it, it looks exactly like any sort of other opiate pharmaceutical. But when they take it, if it's one of those pills that has a higher concentration of fentanyl in it, then it's a potentially life-threatening situation.
In the short video you just watched, you learned about the dangers of illegal narcotics. Illegal narcotics destroys families and ruins lives. Please share this information with your loved ones, and please do not take any narcotics that are not purchased directly from a pharmacy. Thank you.